Aaron, thank you so much
Hello.
for being here today. Before we start, can you make a brief introduction of who you are and how you got to be, in the position as esports director in your high school?
Sure. My name is Aaron Hassel. I have been working in the gaming, esports, and tech industry since for almost 2 decades now, since early part of 2000s. I got my start working at WCG back in 2009. I went on to build competitive software, tournament software at a company called Beyond Gaming. And then I went on to found my own company called Lightstream, where I built a live streaming software similar to what we're using right now to broadcast this to everybody. And kind of along that journey, I ended up having some kids. Surprise, surprise. And my oldest when he was 11, so this would be about 6 years ago, decided that he wanted to start competing while we were attending a Gamers Outreach LAN event. And when I asked him what game he wanted to compete in, he chose Smash. And he was like really excited about that. And he'd never really done anything like this before. And so we got him signed up and got him ended up getting him a little bit of coaching, which I'll talk about later. And then he did really well. And he looked at me after that and said, I want to do that. I want to do this again. And that was age 11. And then by the time he went into high school, I have been really into just the development of him as a player and his career trajectory and what he was doing. And I knew he was going into high school, and I knew that programs had started to come up. I'd seen a lot of collegiate programs popping up. I'd seen a lot of things in high school. I was aware that these things existed. And so I wanted to make sure that when he went into a program, he was going to go somewhere that, was going to be a good program for him and like a good use of his time, and that would help him to continue to grow as a competitor. And they found out they didn't have a program, or they were just starting a program that year, and they were going to be looking for a coach. And so it was kind of like fates had aligned. It was like Amos is going straight into high school now, and they were looking for an esports coach, and it worked out. And so I got to take the position as the director of esports for Northview. And that's how I got started on that 3 years ago.
And how's your day-to-day in Northview? And also, how is it to like coach the kids, but also your son, right? You coach your son as well? Yeah,
I
so
do.
how is that?
So the first one, day to day, day to day during this, like right now, is not too bad because it's like it's off season, but the season is just like starting to get up again, right? And so like we just came off of our summer break, which was a little extended for us because we got to go to Missouri this year, Kansas City, and compete in nationals. And that was a lot of fun. Or I'm sorry, St. Louis. I don't know if I said Kansas City. We got to go to St. Louis and compete in nationals. And we got to go. I took my Valorant team, or my Overwatch 2 team out there, and I took my Smash team out there after they both qualified from winning states. And we won nationals, and that was a really cool experience. And so extended our season, and so it was a little bit longer of a summer, but it's not as busy during the summer as it is starting to get now, because the season's starting to kick off. And so we've been out and promoting to the school. We've got a lot of new interest. We're about to do our kickoff meeting that I do every year to brings back the old teams and players that are interested, and then introduces the program to a lot of the new players and parents that are coming in. And so we're getting ready to actually kick that meeting off here in a few weeks and get the season going, because the season's starting a little bit earlier this year. So it's going to start getting busier. But then, day to day, my kids practice. We have a pretty solid practice regimen. We do Monday through Wednesday, or at least 3 days a week. I have it scheduled that every team does at least 2 days worth of practice, and one day is always competition. There's always a competition scheduled on throughout the season. And then usually we're trying to scrim on one of those 2 days. So I'll usually have one solid day of like practice VOD review with the team, which is kind of open for them to just kind of go over the things. And then like, we'll have another day where I've scheduled a scrim, and the whole goal is to just kind of work through that scrim. And so usually it's like the scrim is scheduled first, then we'll VOD review what happened at the scrim or what we're doing. And then we're making sure we're prepared for competition day. And so that's usually how that goes. And that's about an 8-week season. And so it's pretty busy during the season too, because we're dealing with that. And then I'm just working with the other coaches to make sure we're getting the things done that we want to, and spending a lot of time. Most of my time, honestly, is spent trying to find scrims for my players and kind of get that scheduled with some of the other teams during the season when I'm not working directly with the kids. But I've been lucky and fortunate enough to have a couple additional coaches that have worked with me for the last couple of years with the kids, and they've really been they're very focused on specific game titles, and they've been major helps across the board, because otherwise I would just be a one-man show. So it does help to have some of the other players from the community that reach out and participate.
And what do the kids like say about the structure of the high school scene? Are they like saturated? Is it like easygoing? Can they manage it? Because like I'm thinking collegiate wise, I've been having some meetings with our students or other students, and they said like because different leagues, then rescheduling, sometimes they get
yeah, it's not as intense.
How is it in high school?
It's not as intense in high school, and I think, and that's probably purpose driven. I think this year will probably be a little bit more of an intense year for us from a schedule standpoint, as we will plan to compete beyond just the typical league that we've competed in, which was Esports Ohio. I think we're going to try to not only play in Esports Ohio, but pick up some competitions on Playverse and see how we do overall there as well. I think that I haven't necessarily had too much of a problem from the kids. I think if they had their choice, as long as they had something to do during that time, they would love to they would probably want to be in doing it more. They would probably come in more than they have. But I think when we do, I don't believe in oversaturation of play. I don't believe in playing just to play. I don't subscribe to the concept that you have to that hours alone are what make you a better player in time. And sometimes it's just time. I know a lot of people, it's just time, keep putting time. It's focused effort, right? So I was telling you a little bit about this earlier. I set up the concept of focus effort at the very first meeting with the parents and with the kids, in which when I'm talking about, when I welcome everybody, I say, welcome everybody, this is Northview Esports program. If you're here to play video games, gaming club is on Friday. But if you're here to, be a part of a team and to work and to improve and grow, welcome to Esports. And I do that specifically to set a condition in the mind and a expectation in the mind of the players and the kids who are interested in the program in terms of what they're coming in for and what it's going to be, as well as the point of the parents. Because I want them to understand that we're not just coming here and the kids are doing what you see them do at home every day, right? Which is spend hours and hours of time just kind of sitting in front of it. You don't really know why they're doing it, what they're doing, are they, is it beneficial? So it's very this time that I have with them, this 2:30 to 5 that I have with them 3 days a week is very focused time, or we're there to practice, we're there to work on skills, we're there to review what we're doing, we're there to work on getting better at the chosen game that they're doing, because they want to see that success. And these kids are really really good at improving and learning, and it's these drastic leaps and bounds you see when you give them the right tools to do that and the right environment to do it in. And so I do, so I try to set that in their heads that this is what we're in for. very, very early on. So the kids themselves kind of know what they're in for. And I don't think they've been overburdened as well, going back to what you were saying about time. I don't think they would be too overburdened because they want to be able to play more, right? They want the opportunity to be able to like challenge themselves more and play more. So I don't think we had that saturation problem in high school at all. I think if anything, there's probably a lack of additional steps to take, right? So like this year was really good for in my mind for like for the creation of a next step phase, because like we saw League OS come out and we saw these groups come out, these other groups come together and say, hey, we're going to do, we're doing this national event. And it gave a couple states an opportunity to come together and send their teams and kind of experience something a little bit bigger than just as far I've gone as far as states, right? Because the kids, the kids and the parents want the opportunity for that, right? As the parents get more into it, like they want to see their kids have more opportunity. And that's a question that I get a lot, like, are they going to do more? And so I think one of the neat things that's come out of the last 3 years of developing this program with my kids is also watching them develop their relationship with esports. Because I have a lot of kids who like never experienced esports before, like in any form, and now they're going to locals and like by themselves, and they go and they compete. Or I know most of my Overwatch 2 team at this point is scheduled to go. They a lot of 3 out of 5 of them consistently play and face it, right? And they've had their parents book them a trip because they want to go to DreamHack out in Sweden, and they want to go play this year. And I'm like, that's amazing. So it's been really cool to see these kids kind of grow into their own relationship with esports and wanting to take it, do it differently, but then also see some kids who are just happy with like enjoying it in high school and having and being a part of the program at that level and taking it that far. And I live with 2 great examples of that. Because I have Amos, I have Straw Hat Kid, who's my oldest, and then I have my middle, Asher, who also competes on the team, and who's also been had as much exposure to esports as his older brother, but chose that's not interesting for me. That level of competition is not what I want to do. I don't want to go and try to play at the highest level and be ranked here in these things. It's more of I want to come and like sit here in high school, and this is fun. I like this level. It's my peers, right? I want to, and his own relationship with wanting to get better and improve stems from, I want to be the best in the high schools. Like I want to be the best among this peer group. I don't care about being the best in the world, but I'll tell you in ESO, I want to be like here. And he works really hard, and he puts that same like focus and effort that his brother does, but just to get to that point. And so it's really exciting to see the way these kids are starting to like not only develop the relationships, but I like to look at their on-ramps and off-ramps to esports, like how they're starting to engage and what's making them start to engage with these things.
What tools? Because you mentioned like you give like your certain tools, and they have like a limited like 3 to 5. It's 2 hours of practice. It's not, but like in those hours of practice, what tools do you give them when they go home, or when you're not supervising them?
That's very, when I first started the program, it was for like, and particularly for people who, so let me say it varies, right? Because it depends on the player that you're working with, where they kind of are in their, from a skill level standpoint and in their journey. Right. And so like, I have players who come in I've had players who come in and have never played Smash a day in their life. Right. And the types of tools that we start to give them are like teaching them fundamentals, helping them understand, here's where you go to find VODs on how to improve as this character and how to improve with this technique. And we want you to study this, or we want you to work on this one particular thing, right? It's a very individual, like coaching, as you know, is like it's not, you can do some broad things, but then you have to start really dialing down to very general things, particularly if you want to see success, right? Like the biggest problem with coaching in esports now, and just across that has been for a while, is that like a lot of stuff is broad strokes, right? A lot of the information you see out online or on the internet is very broad. Do this thing, learn how to do this thing, right? And this is great, and this is how you should play, and this is how, but that's not conducive to helping an individual get better at any particular thing. There's a great book that a lot of like people read, the name is escaping me right now. Yeah. But one of the basic concepts that it's the inner game of tennis. And one of the, you know this book, right? And so one of the coaching concepts that it kind of talks about is broad stroke coaching, right? Where people take these very broad stroke coaching, instead of helping people kind of dial down into maybe very small changes, right? And trying to make very small, subtle changes that can then change everything else about a particular game, right? And like people improve in small chunks. It's really hard to improve in like really big, broad, like in a really big way, or to take on big concepts, because sometimes it's
very far away.
Yeah. So a lot of times the tools that I'm giving is very like specific to where they are. So it's a study this VOD, it's a work on this particular mechanic. It's when I first started, it was like everybody on the Overwatch 2 team gets aim trainer, and every day you're putting in 20 minutes of aim training, you're submitting it to coach to make sure like we like where we're going, right? That was like, but that's like early fundamental stuff. As they get further, and so I have the teams that I have right now that are playing have been with me for 3 years, right? And so they've come from this kind of fundamental building to, okay, we've been playing and I have experience playing and competing and things like that under my belt. And now we're starting to get into like bigger, we're trying to like dive into like bigger things we're trying to work on. So like VOD review is a very big tool that we use. This summer, for instance, my entire Smash team was assigned to go on a program on a matchmaking site called Matchbox, and their job was to just go play matches in this competitive environment against random matchups, right? That you don't know, because that's what you'll find a lot in high school. I don't expect a lot of winning. I would hope they do but they are. But what I'm expecting them to do is to go and to put themselves in a competitive environment and continue to like learn things from it. Like the entire team, the mantra that we have on my team is we're not learning if we're winning, right? So our goal is to go out there and put ourselves in situations that we can continue to learn from and that we can continue to study from. So like that was like a piece of homework that they have over the summer to do, to kind of just help them take on some of those things.
And the piece of homework, like when you get them in the situation, is it like compete and tell me what you've learned, or like compete and apply these concepts that I taught you in the sessions?
It's all about, for me, it's all about, when it comes to like, it's about application, right? Because that's what matters, right? Like these kids are really smart, and every time I talk to them, they can tell me lots of concepts. And sometimes you have to like work through certain concepts with them and have discussions to talk to them about like why something happens in a game, or why a mechanic does things, or why you should be doing a certain, like thinking about something in this certain way. Like sometimes and they'll talk, and I generally find that you'll know right away whether they understand the concept or not. But even when they do understand the concept, applying the concept is a completely different thing. Right. And that's what makes at the end of the day, execution is always what matters. That's what the difference between like top level play is and from everybody else, is their ability to execute on what they're doing. At the time and consistently and in these, and what I try to focus on is, okay, we're learning this concept. Are you applying it? I don't care if you win with it. I just care that you're trying to apply what what it is that you've learned from that particular thing.
Mhm. And regarding, because like all this I do with the students, I guess it's because they have the support of their parents. Have you had like situations where like parents are not very supportive and outside the esports program, or even put some, like,
Yes, I will say yes. I will say yes. The majority of my parents, though, are incredibly supportive. I love my parent group. They've all, for the most part of the parents that have come that are around, right, they have all been like, they want to be involved. How can they help? Really supportive of the team. They make yard signs for the team, like, and their goal too aligns with my goal, like, which is I want these kids to have the same experience as part of the esports team as they would if they joined the soccer team or the football team or the baseball team or any other extracurricular activity that's maybe played in a sport or something like that. That camaraderie, that team-based thing, that community feeling, right, that exists. And when you see your community celebrating the athletes, right, and the other students and celebrating all sorts of different ways, that also goes a long way to, like, for the kids, right? And so, like, the parents are like decorating their lockers last year when they won regionals, and then when they won states again, they did the same thing. And the school does a big send-off parade where they march them through the school with the marching band, and like they clap them off to states, and like those little types of things are super, super, super important. And I love that the parents kind of get involved and make those happen, right? It's that little bit of an extra thing that it goes a long way. And they want their kids treated the same, right? And they're willing to fight with the school, go to battle with the school for like funding or for resources for us. And like they want to get involved. So I feel like I've been pretty lucky. I know that that's not necessarily always the case, but I think more often than not, it is the case that there are a lot of supportive parents out there, particularly when you really get them understanding kind of what's going on and what they're doing. And when, like, then it really starts to settle in for the parents. And like when you connect the college thing too, right? The college connection is definitely a huge space where they can see that they're like, that this can go somewhere, right? It's not just they're playing a game in high school and that they're just competing and that's it. It's just they're just playing video games and that's it, right? Like it can lead somewhere. There is a secondary step for it. And so while I'm a proponent of all the initial benefits that the kids receive, which is being a part of their school community, representing their school, playing in competition, the team building aspects, the self-improvement aspects, and like, while I'm a big proponent of all of the things that sports can deliver, kind of in that way, right? There's also the fact that it steps out somewhere else, and I try to kind of champion that idea for parents too. It's like, look, this can take you somewhere, and so I'm willing to tolerate this enough to open up and learn about it or understand how you're doing. But on the reverse side, I've had parents who just don't care. I've had kids where I've had situations where I've had to almost forfeit entire seasons because I have a parent who literally came and pulled a kid out of a match in the middle of a match because he had a dentist appointment. And it's like, no, like, that's not how we do, like, this is not how we do things. It's not fair to the kids. It's not fair to their opponents. Like, the league has specific rules around if you can't field the team. And if, like, you do forfeits like that, or like where you can, like, where our team, we can get penalized, like, as a team and as part of our league, and get in a lot of trouble with situations like that. And some parents just don't care. Right. And so, like, that is definitely situations that I've dealt with. Or some parents just aren't active, right? They're just like, the kid shows up and it's like, whatever. I've never met them before. But for the most part, I have very active participating parents who do it, and who really appreciate what what their kids have gotten out of it.
From what you explained, like the school like really supports, like, because like I was like, there was a moment that was commenting this week on LinkedIn about like how like, you know, like all the high school ecosystem in esports, and you know, like his kid has to go to a separate esport team outside high school because his high school doesn't support it, you know. But like how did Northview like start accepting or like supporting the esports program?
Sylvania. So I work in a district that has I have two high schools in my district. So I have Northview and I have we have Southview. And the way that esports kind of came about in the district was in part by an incoming superintendent who came from another region, who had where their school system already had implemented esports implemented, and was seeing the benefits from that. And a young man that was played on my team, played on my Overwatch team, by the name of Raymond, who went and petitioned the school and did a whole presentation to the school board to get esports included as part as an activity in the school. And so he had done that the year prior, and then when I came around was when they were looking, and I kind of took up the Northview position. They had somebody in the Southview position, and I took up the Northview position, and I've been running with it ever since. And so yeah, it was really kind of a little bit of administrative activism and student-led activism that brought esports to the table, which I'm very happy for. And Raymond was fantastic. He was a great Overwatch 2 player, and I think he went on to participate. He himself had gotten a full academic scholarship to the University of Baltimore, and I think he was on their team for a little bit, or working with the program for a little bit, which was really cool.
Out of curiosity, like, do your players also, when they're not in season, do other sports? Do they continue competing in their video game? Like,
there are a few.
Okay.
I do have a few. In the past, I've had crossovers. I've had lacrosse kids who've been playing, who do both. I've definitely had a mix of, I've had kids who do tennis and who do the same thing. And so, yeah, I've had some kids who cross over to sports. I have one right now that comes over and crosses over and does both. And then I have a lot of kids who also do other programs and come from from other things too. So it's really cool to have a bit of a melting pot from at least from the standpoint of like extracurriculars that comes through. It's not just we do get the kids who are generally compete athletically, and then I get kids from kind of everywhere now who've never ever done anything before. And then I get kids who are, they're in band, or they're in orchestra, or they're in some other programs as well. So
amazing. You also mentioned that you get involved with the kids that actually want to get into collegiate esports. I do. Do you also get involved the parents in the process? Like, what's your advice based on?
So I do get involved. I kind of stopped, and that's probably one of the other ways I kind of got involved in all of this process was I helped a young Smash player early on in his career. Helped him I helped his parents understand his relationship with Smash, like how really good he was, and help them understand that like what he's doing now, he's got colleges looking at him, and he ended up going to school. He ended up working out a scholarship to go to school to compete in their esports program and play Smash. And so it was really cool. That was a really interesting moment for me, as I kind of like that. Those things kind of happened, and then I was looking at my own relationship with my son in terms of like what he was going to do in the future for school. And I was like, there's a pathway here, and this is like this is a direction we want to go. And so like what I've tried to do over the years since then is I've tried to develop relationships with as many directors, collegiate directors, as I possibly can. I've met a ton of them. I think they're all fantastic people. And they're really all working to build all of their different programs in their different ways, and their flavor of esports is, as we kind of mentioned. And so I've been able to kind of create my own personal network in terms of being able to just reach out and make introductions for some of my players or students or things like that. But I've also been trying to, this particular year, I'm trying to work on creating a more indirect method of collegiate directors being able to come directly into our Discord and be able to have conversations with parents and students right there, and have it a little bit more of a direct contact with them, so that as I build up my program, the parents are being invited into the Discord. My other students are being invited to Discord. I have my alumni in the Discord who are also going off to colleges, and really it's kind of about creating one hub where all of those groups can come together, because that's kind of hard too. I think one of the biggest issues that I've found as part of the process really is like creating the initial connection. And like making sure, like creating the initial connection and making it go through, and like it seems to come in like different ways, where it's either like I'll create the connection with the director and the student, and then the conversation doesn't go anywhere, or I try to get the parent and the student and the director involved, and maybe it goes a little bit further. But but my primary goal and primary advice really is to like just reach out. First of all, reach out in any format. Like most of the colleges, they have social feeds. So they're on Facebook, they're on Twitter. If you have a LinkedIn, you can find them on LinkedIn. You can just go directly to their websites and like email them, right? And all that. So one of them is like, if you want to talk to somebody and you're interested in their program, don't wait to, as a parent or even a high school director, like don't wait to reach out and create these relationships. Like one of the things that I did that was most successful for my program in the very first year was like the school. I told you we had 2 high schools. So when the school district invested in us, they bought, I think like 18 or 19 machines, something like that. And then they split them between the 2 high schools. So I, for my program in total, have 7 computers for like 20 to 30 kids on any given year. But we have a college campus right next to us at Lord's University. And so they have an esports program. And I was able to go and like work out a relationship with them and bring the kids into Lord's to practice and play and use the equipment there, and get and work with some of the student players there, and kind of create that. And so, but I did that by just walking up to them and asking. I said, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. Do you want to work together?" And I think like, as a high school director, make as many connections as you can. These guys are at your regional events. They're in the Discords for all of your, at least for the most part, they're in the Discords for like your league channels and things like that. They're out there. You just kind of have to cultivate that yourself a little bit. And it's the same thing for parents. If your kid is interested in a school and you guys are talking about a school, look and see if they have a program. Reach out to the director. They want to hear from you, right? Create that connection, because I think that's like the most direct way to make something happen. I think there are tools out there, and I don't necessarily know yet how well the collegiate recruiting pipeline is formalized for people. And I know that's something you guys are working on, and I'm just saying. From my experience and kind of what I'm dealing with, it's a lot of like, I should say legwork. It's just a lot of like networking on my part to go out and say, hey, here we are. I want to be involved. I want to know you. I want to like, maybe you're interested in my players at some point, or I just want to know that we exist, and I want to give you access now, or I want to give you the ability to like, let us know what's going on and how we can be involved with you.
Yeah, and also like, do universities do like tournaments to get high school students to their campus and recruit them?
Yeah, they do, and we're starting to see more of that, and definitely starting to see, like, a couple things that I'm starting to see a lot more universities doing. And one of the things that's going to be new for me this year, and I'm working with the school mate. I've got a lot of requests for universities to come visit the school and talk to the kids this year, and so that's something that I'm trying to facilitate. Is a day where the schools they come in and they kind of talk to the kids, and they pitch the school and talk about their program and why they should consider them. And I think that's really cool. I've got a number of those that I'm trying to set up, but trying to understand how that works with the school, right? And working out with the school. Manchester University out in Indiana is a great example of a school using a tournament to not only broadcast themselves, but get kids more involved. And so every year they do a tournament, a Smash tournament. And for the last couple of years, I want to say it was 270 high school kids, all high school kids signed up, all high school. It's high school only. They do a Smash, they run a Smash tournament. They invite all the high schools from Indiana. We come out from Ohio. They've got kids that come out from Ohio and Michigan and Illinois have come down to compete. Amos, my son, has won that tournament 2 out of the last 3 years that we've gone. But that's a great example of a big tournament. And what you win is a scholarship to Manchester University. So top 8 players win scholarship, and it's great.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, though, let me tell you, it's probably one of the best run tournaments that I've ever been to. And I've been to a lot of tournaments, and the caliber that they operate that tournament at is incredible. To be able to move 270 kids through Smash matches in a period of like 9 hours is one heck of a feat. They pull it off. They pull it off every year. So yeah, and we're seeing that more. Akron University is been helping host a series that goes on, and so yeah, they're getting the colleges are getting involved, and even the University of Akron has for the last few years hosted the state finals for Esports Ohio, and so yeah, I definitely see more of that happening. So, summer camps are a big thing too. I have a couple kids who have spent the last couple of years going to some of the summer camps at the different at some of the schools in the area.
No, amazing. So with everything that you mentioned about like high school students going to collegiate esports, if you had to give one advice, what would it be? With all the strategies and all the things that you mentioned.
For who am I giving advice to? Parents? Who am I giving advice to?
Students.
Parents, students. To be honest, I think in today's environment, to have your best chance of success of moving into a program is to really focus on your grades. It's probably not something they want to hear, but I think as talent will get you so far, right? But that is not the environment that collegiate is looking for, right? Collegiate is not looking for like necessarily you might be the best, you're the best player in Smash or Overwatch or Valorant in the country for your age in the state. That might be great, but if you're not a student athlete and you don't have a decent GPA, and you're not going to get looked at, right? And even if you do get looked at, the benefit for you in terms of what you can be offered will not be right. Because so there's a huge benefit to maintaining like a good academics, because the truth of the matter is what collegiate is looking for is scholar athletes at the end of the day, right? Like, I think for lack of a better term, they're looking like that's what they get when they get kids who come in on scholarships from sports. Like, that's what they're looking for. Ideally what they're looking for,
depending on the university.
But particularly with esports, I think with the stigma, I'm going to call it a stigma for that comes along with like the STEM and esports connection and what people look for, like that's what a good basis of what's being looked for is a good scholarly athletes. And a lot of the truth is a lot of your scholarships that will come from most of the schools out there that will come from your academic side of it, and less.
That's what I was going to mention.
Yeah,
yes,
less so from the programs itself, because the industry is still in a state where like the programs are all different. They're not offering huge amounts of money for scholarships. They don't have they're not all under and I shouldn't say under athletics, because I think I'm overgeneralizing the actual issue there, but like for better contextualization, they're not under athletics, which has really large budgets for scholarships, right?
Yeah.
And they're not, and because it's esports and it's not the football team, it's not afforded the same kind of that same kind of funding to be able to then just give students to do it in that manner.
Yeah.
And so some schools have more, some schools have less, some schools have zero, some schools are a club program, and that's important too, right? I think the other big piece of advice is research where you're going, right?
Yeah.
Because some of the larger schools that you would think, hey, they're a big school, they have tons of money. What do you mean they don't?
In athletics, but maybe not in the esports program.
Right, but in the esports, they're just a club sport, or the school is not bought in that way, or not investing in that way. And so it's important to like, where do I want to go? And then what does it have to offer? But I say, doing your best, in these years of high school to make sure you have a decent, a good GPA, and that if that's kind of your goal, and making sure you understand that like, you want to be a good player, I want to have a good GPA, but understand kind of where you're going and what the program that you're going to is, because I think that's the other hard thing too for a lot of people. They're like,
I also want to give a shout out to Jonas Climbs, who's in the comment section.
Hi, Jonas.
I'm glad esports is getting more official in high school. I used to work in esports a few years back, and the landscape keeps evolving. Yes, and let's keep pushing forward.
Yeah, and the space in high school particularly is also continuing to evolve. We're just seeing a lot of great work. We're seeing the landscape develop in a lot of great ways, and it's not just right that we're seeing more and more programs pop up in high schools, and more administrations kind of take it. We're seeing the great work of groups like GVSC, like the Garden State Esports groups. We're seeing great works from the IHSEF with their latest licensing work for their cohort of states. And so we're just, as it gets bigger and as it gets larger, as we're seeing a lot more formality start to end up, it's really definitely starting to evolve and get a foothold, and like it's becoming more and more accepted. And so my kids are a lot less embarrassed walking down the hallway with their state championship now in year 3, right? Because the community understands, hey, we have a team. We're good at this. We like these guys. We want to continue to support this. Then they were year 1, right? Which is like, and so yeah, I'm really excited about the direction that it is heading in high school, because I think it's important. I think I truly believe that that these kids deserve to have programs that serve them like this, and give them and provide them this experience. And kind of help them, give them an opportunity. Hey, you can go to a next step. It can go to college. Or hey, you just played in high school and you did something awesome, and you met some friends and you had a good time, and you got to go out there and work on yourself a little bit and do something that like made you happy for a point in time, and at least gave you some memory from high school, right? Like, I think a lot of kids probably end up like my son, who, for all of his accolades in terms of what he's done in Smash and competing and stuff like that, if I, as a parent, when I can be proud of that, and I can be proud he's got some social life and stuff like that. But then when I look at his high school experience and I kind of compare it to mine, and I say, oh, well, he's not really interested in going to homecoming, and he doesn't want to like go to the football games after school with the friends and watch these kind of things. That's not really his interest. But for me, But the esports has been a whole nother thing for him, right? That's where he gets unlocked, right? When I see him out in competitions in the everyday world, and I see him out, like that's where I've always see the best of him. And so it's really cool to be able to see that part of him at school, but also for him to take away a memory of something from more than just I went to school every day and I came home. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
I didn't take school trips. I didn't do any of that stuff. I didn't do much of the and so like I imagine a lot of kids are like that. And so I think there's nothing to me, there'd be nothing more important or no more important mission for a school or any community than to want to give their kids a space like that for that time.
Yeah, also what John has mentioned, like people don't realize the skill, effort, and dedication it takes to be at the top in gaming, and also people think it's not a sport, but have no clue what they're talking about. I mean,
yeah. I think there's I think most people conflate sport with athletics, and that's just. That's just how we culturally have celebrated sport. Is it's usually around athletics and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Many people might not consider chess a sport, but I mean it is, right? Like, but I tend to I like to explain it like this to people though too. It's when you compete in a sport, when you do anything, and I have an open to you, when we swing our rackets, because you're a tennis player. We're committing a physical act, right? When I pick up my pencil, I'm committing a physical act. Up here, my brain is telling my body to do these things. So when I'm going to swing and I'm going to hit a tennis ball, my brain is telling my body, okay, Aaron, step forward, plant your hip, draw back, slow to high, make sure your grip is set. Do these, like follow through over your shoulder. These are all the things that are going on in my mind that I'm telling my body to do at any given time.
Yeah.
Just because the pace and velocity at which I'm executing that is different does not make that process any different between the swinging of a racket and the pushing of a button in a video game, right? Like it's the same, your mind telling you to do this. And so I tend to tell people, like, think about the absolute insane reaction speed and time that you have to have in your mind, the processing. Think about a quarterback, the thought process, the processing of different variables before making a decision and committing an action. It's the same thing in esports, right? It's all of the processing that's going on in our brains and telling, like, the things that we're telling ourselves to do, the reactions that we have to make, like the split-second decisions that have to happen, are all the same things that happen in the actual act of committing a sport or playing in athletics. It's no different. It's just a different pace and velocity. And like, I tend to explain it to people like that. And then people are like, oh, I kind of get it. And so you're right. There is no, there might be some physicality difference, but the mental model that you have to train and like the reaction times and the thought process, like those are the things that make, besides some of their amazingly athletic skills physically, those are some skills that make athletes truly different, right? Physicality isn't all it, right? So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, amazing. And John has also mentioned it takes physical ability and mental ability. Just because it's not as physical, it doesn't invalidate it. So just what you were saying. So
I mean, there's a funny joke that I always say, like, and it's no comparison, but like, I think a lot of people don't realize how much physicality actually driving a car takes in like NASCAR. Have you ever seen the training these guys do, or like Indy? You've seen like the training these guys do and like the size of their neck. The size of their neck.
Like the Formula
I think about it like that too. Like these guys are under immense mental physical strain, as well as having to make the snap
with the heat
decisions
stuff as well
and things like that. But like, nobody's gonna tell them they're not that's not a sport, right? Like just because they're sitting. Oh, I can sit in a car and drive around go make 500 lefts.
Yeah.
It's just how we measure physics. I think it's just how we measure physicality and all that.
Yeah. Aaron, amazing, man. Like before we wrap up, like, is there something that you would like to mention that we haven't talked about?
That is a good question. I feel like we were talking about something earlier, but did we cover it? We were talking about something before we went into this. Did we cover it?
We went about like perspective of students in high school, parents, administration. We also mentioned college, advice you would give them. I think we covered like the 360 of what I wanted to cover, but like I just want to know if you want.
I mean, I think the only other thing maybe we haven't. The only other thing we haven't touched is like while the space is growing in a good space, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that like it's still a young space, and the space still, you know, just like every other space, particularly the high school space, is in need of investment. It's in need of resource. It's in need of some focus, and more so even than you know, don't tell the college guys, more so than probably the collegiate space in a lot of ways, who have their own challenges funding wise and things like that. But I think it's different when it's a little bit different when you're entirely reliant on your budgets coming from the states versus and the way those limited resources are moved. And so like I think my biggest thing that I'm going to with that is like any help that can be given to the high schools at the state is greatly appreciated and needed. And so like if you're a director or a college school, and you aren't already, which I'm sure most of you are, reaching out to your high school, to your local high schools and seeing, do they need anything? Can you help them? I see a lot of like, one of the things that I see happening a lot, right, is like a lot of the colleges are trying to find ways to either donate or sell older equipment that they're cycling out to the local schools and the local institutions. I think that's great. Finding more ways to kind of facilitate those things, I think, are a big thing, or ways to facilitate how to help the local communities to raise money. Like that's a big focus for me this year, is trying to figure out the best way to activate our local community. Like I've gone out, I've done a lot of great things with the team, but we're really ready to, you know, at a stage where we're ready to grow. And so how do I go out and really like activate at the local level, right? Like a much smaller level, and help facilitate that. But you know, I think that's probably one of the biggest things. You know, we're at a point where a lot of schools still don't have resources to even field teams, or even the option to have the resources for field teams, or even if they can, you know, like in my case, last year I actually had to turn kids away because I didn't have enough resources, because we had a hiccup with our space last year. And so like, we didn't have enough resources to support adding teams, you know? And so that's going to be a bottleneck, I think, for a really long time, but the space is continuing to grow. And that's maybe a state by state thing, but the space is continuing to grow. It's exciting. And I would tell you, not just college directors, if you've worked in esports, if you've followed me, if you have the capability to reach out and help, like we would love volunteers. We would love kind of anything in any way, for the most part, because I know the majority of the high school directors are overwhelmed, or they're teachers, right? And this is the big thing too. Like they need the resource because they're teachers, and a lot of them are teachers because a lot of the high school jobs and coaching roles are union based. And so they have to be offered to the teachers first. And so you've got these teachers who we already know are struggle in our schools to bring resources in just to do their classes. And now we're asked, we put even more on them, and they're trying to help build programs that for the kids that they care about, and for to be something good. And so like any help is greatly appreciated.
Yeah. Sometimes we want to change the world, the country, but if we start locally,
just got to start really small.
That's how we can build.
Yep.
Amazing. Aaron, No worries. Amazing to have you, man. Like,
No,
I really
appreciate
spent
it.
like, I think I said like 4 questions, but I was just listening to you all the time, like taking notes. So I really thank you for your time, and actually,
I really appreciate you having me on, Ivan. I really appreciated our conversation prior and the opportunity to come and talk with you more about this. And like, you know, I'm someone who's, you know, relatively new to the high school space too. And so like, there are just a lot of amazing people out in the space who have been doing a ton of groundbreaking work well ahead of me. I'm excited to be doing things in this space and like watching it grow and being able to meet people like you and meet people like them who are really trying to do something that I care about.
thank